Over to our political correspondent, Bennett, with the latest in politics.
Just went black. Keeping you posted on the impeachment, Fiona Hill, a previous ambassador to the Ukraine, has claimed Rudy Giuliani overran protocol to manipulate foreign policy. He denied the allegation. Gordon Sondland is scheduled to testify on President Trump's behalf on Thursday. Sondland claims that there was no quid pro quo between Trump and the Ukraine. The Democrats are trying to prove that Trump withheld military aid to the Ukraine in exchange for him investigating Joe Biden. Despite no evidence, Trump accused Hunter Biden of profiting off his father's political status, so Hunter has announced that he will step down from a Chinese company. Joe Biden said if elected, his family members will not be given cabinet positions. The White House announced sanctions on Turkey this week. This move came after polling support from the Kurds, which raised concern on both sides of the aisle. Trump has removed all U.S. troops from northern Syria as well. The Treasury Department says the sanctions are a result of, quote, endangering innocent civilians and destabilizing the region, including undermining the campaigns to defeat ISIS, end quote. Vice President Mike Pence says that he has been asked to work towards ending violence in the Middle East. The sanctions that were announced today will continue and will worsen unless and until Turkey embraces an immediate ceasefire. The U.S. is also calling for Turkey and Syria to work out its issues at the border before trade can resume as before. A video has surfaced with President Trump's face edited onto a movie scene. The video depicts people in a church with their faces covered with prominent news media outlets. Trump's figure is depicted as shooting all of them in what is described as a, quote, fake news massacre, unquote. We have chosen not to share the video, but it was shown at a pro-Trump rally. Many people are upset about the video. Trump's team has said that they are not responsible for the video and do not support violence, but are ignoring calls to denounce the meme. And last night, the Democratic candidates for the presidential nomination had another debate. Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren got heated over health care. Buttigieg argued for a government-funded Medicare, but still with the option for citizens to choose private insurance. Warren claims that this is unfair and puts the elite at an advantage. Bernie Sanders insisted that he is healthy and capable of being president. Beto O'Rourke came off unclear as to how exactly he planned to confiscate privately owned assault rifles. This was the first of the debates Tom Steyer participated in, bringing the number of candidates running up to 19, with 12 eligible for debates. Let's head back to Lauren and Angel at the desk.
Over to our political correspondent, Annie Bennett, with the second person who has come forward against President Trump. Annie?
A second whistleblower has come forward with supposed knowledge of the Ukraine phone call that led to the motion for President Trump's impeachment. Mark Saeed, the lawyer for the first complainant, is now representing even more people. This new whistleblower also claims to have first-hand knowledge of the, quote, frightening, unquote, phone call. This comes in the wake of Trump's appeal to Australia for assistance discrediting Robert Mueller. Trump has also been accused of asking China, not just Ukraine, to help investigate Biden's son. However, Republican Jim Jordan said he, quote, wasn't serious, unquote. The White House says Trump will not cooperate with the impeachment, which Democrats are calling obstruction. President Trump's last 8 years of tax returns were subpoenaed by New York prosecutors. Supposedly, he was paying hush money to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, who had accused him of having affairs. His previous lawyer, Michael Cohen, was charged for these crimes, but Trump was never prosecuted. His team appealed the subpoena, citing constitutional law that a sitting president cannot be subject to criminal proceedings while in office. Federal Judge Victor Marrero disputed his claim of presidential immunity, although the appeals court did block the immediate enforcement of the subpoena, so when the documents will be released is still to be determined. Senator Bernie Sanders was released from the hospital after suffering a heart attack. His campaign is now resuming, but he has announced things will slow down. In the wake of his recovery, he has introduced a new finance plan. Sanders says that if elected president in 2020, he will ban corporate donations and create public financing laws. He also promises to ban donations to the DNC and lobbying from former Congress members and prohibit advertising during presidential debates. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court heard 3 cases regarding rights of LGBTQ+ citizens. The first case involves Amy Stevens, who was fired for not adhering to the male dress code, despite following the female dress code, which is how she identifies. Secondly, Don Zarda, a skydiving instructor, was fired after coming out as gay to a customer who then complained to his superior. Finally, Gerald Bostock was fired for, quote, conduct unbecoming, unquote, after participating in gay organizations. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act prohibits discrimination on sex, but the question is if whether that defense can be used to protect queer people. That's all for politics. Back to you.
Correspondent Annie Bennett. Annie, what do you have for us?
Good morning. The House of Representatives is officially releasing 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump. He is being charged with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The report for abuse of power says that, quote, using the powers of high office, President Trump solicited interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, in the 2020 United States presidential election, end quote. In regard to obstruction of Congress, Trump is being charged in response to calling the investigation a, quote, hoax, unquote, and refusing to cooperate. Next, the Senate will vote whether or not to remove Trump from office. If 2/3 vote in favor, Trump will no longer be president. That would require every Democrat and 20 Republicans voting for impeachment. Yesterday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met with President Trump to discuss the relationship between Russia and the United States. The Justice Department's watchdog released a report about the FBI investigation regarding Russian interference in the 2016 election. Despite President Trump's claims that the investigation was political and unjustified, the report concluded this was not the case. It confirmed that the FBI had valid reasoning to investigate Russia. However, it did outline multiple errors done by the FBI, including, quote, alleged document tampering, end quote. The Kentucky abortion law will stand. Supreme Court refused to hear a case about an abortion law in Kentucky. Doctors in Kentucky are required to show ultrasound images and videos of fetal heartbeats to pregnant individuals seeking abortion. Supporters claim that this is merely requiring doctors to provide patients with all information available. Opponents of the law claim that it's a scare tactic designed to prevent women from seeking abortions. The Supreme Court has not commented on why it will not hear the case. Many pro-choice advocates fear the effect this will have on Roe v. Wade. Last week, we reported on Representative Duncan Hunter. He pled guilty to misusing campaign funds. He has now announced that he will be resigning from his position in Congress. The House Ethics Committee has requested he not vote in Congress in response to his guilty plea. For the last time this semester, I'm Annie Bennett.